meetings, the City Council takes formal action on items, holds public hearings, and conducts other business of the city. Agenda packets are available on the City of Pasco's website at www.pasco-wa.gov/agenda. This meeting is also being televised live on PSC-TV Channel 191, on Spectrum Cable in Pasco and Richland, and is streamed on the city's Facebook page, website, YouTube channel, and GoToWebinar. This and previous council meeting video is available on the city's website. Lastly, the public may submit their comments and/or questions by contacting the city manager, city clerk, or by using the Ask Pasco app. And with that, can I get roll call, please?
Yes. Council members Brown,
Present.
Campos,
Here.
Milne,
Present.
Roach,
Present.
Serrano,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Maloney,
Present.
and Mayor Barajas.
Present. And with that, would you please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for that. So we'll now go through item 4, consent agenda. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted by roll call vote as one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. If further discussion is desired by council members, the item may be removed by the consent agenda to the regular agenda and considered separately. Item A, approval of meeting minutes for April 17 and 24th. Item B, bills and communications to approve the claims in the total amount of $6,242,428.08. Item C, ordinance number 4666, amending the Pasco Municipal Code, creating Chapter 8.07 compost procurement. Item D, ordinance number 4668, amending the Pasco Municipal Code Chapter 25.127, zoning with waterfront development district to mixed-use district. Item E, resolution 4344, adoption of the 2023 comprehensive stormwater management plan. Item F, resolution 4345, professional services agreement with RH2 Engineering Incorporated for design services for the process water reuse facility irrigation system farm upgrades project. Item G, resolution number 4346, interlocal cooperative agreement, City of Kennewick, Richland, Pasco, West Richland, and Benton Franklin Health District for funding of regional algal bloom laboratory screening service. And with that, can I get a motion?
I move to approve the consent agenda as read.
There's a motion, can I get a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Campos. And can I get a roll call vote?
Yes. Council members Serrano,
Yes.
Campos,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Milne,
Yes.
Roach,
Yes.
Maloney,
Yes.
and Barajas.
Yes.
It passes unanimously.
Thank you. And with that, we will go on to our next item on the agenda, proclamations and acknowledgements. We do have 2 proclamations this evening. And I would like to invite, before I start, this is the reason why we're doing a proclamation. Proclamations are issued by the mayor of City of Pasco to provide an opportunity for the city to recognize exceptional events. The goal of a proclamation is to recognize and celebrate the extraordinary achievements of Pasco citizens, nonprofit organizations, honor occasions of importance and significance, and increase public awareness of issues to improve the well-being of the people of the city. With that, I would like to invite, we are reading a proclamation for the Asian Pacific Islander community to commemorate, sorry, that was my son, to commemorate the Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month proclamation. I would like to invite any families to the front that identify as Asian Pacific Islander. If you'd like to stand by the podium. And so my proclamation reads, whereas Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month is a time to recognize the contributions and achievements of Americans of Asia, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Island descent. And whereas in the United States, Asian Pacific Heritage Week was first celebrated in 1979 and was extended into AAPI Heritage Month in 1992. And whereas the month of May was chosen as Asian Pacific American Heritage Month to commemorate the immigration of the first Japanese citizen, Nakahama Manjiro, to the United States on May 7, 1843, but also the anniversary of the May 10, 1869 completion of the first transcontinental railroad built in part of the back-bearing labor of nearly 20,000 Chinese immigrants. And whereas locally, contributions of Asian families in the railroad system played a critical role in the Pasco's history and economy. And whereas we celebrate the achievements and contributions of our Asian Pacific Islander residents, which enrich our history, society, and culture through languages and religion, and make our community more vibrant and prosperous and secure. And whereas during AAPI Heritage Month, we acknowledge the additional determination, hard work, and perseverance of AAPI put forth to be heard and seen. And whereas in 2023, theme is advancing leaders through opportunity, and through providing advancement opportunities, organizations can reduce the barriers to professional progression and consequently reduce employee turnover and increase satisfaction. And now, therefore, I, Blanche Barajas, Mayor for the City of Pasco, it's my great honor to hereby proclaim May 1st through May 31st, 2023 as Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. Please don't walk away. We have some more to share. Do you want to share?
Oh, I can speak a little bit.
Oh, okay.
It's a big group. All righty, say cheese. Nice, thank you.
I'd just like to, my name is Roy Sato. I'm part of the Yamauchi clan. They came in around 1905 is when they came to the United States, and they settled here, eventually settled here in Pasco. But I'd like to thank the council and the city for this nice honor. Just briefly, my grandparents immigrated here because he was the youngest son, and as many cultures, the youngest gets nothing. The oldest gets the farm. So with his wife, who was expectant, they struck out for the United States, and eventually, like I said, they settled here. And again, he went to work for the railroad also. So again, that was part of Pasco's history. They had 9 children, and many grandchildren, great-grandchildren. We at the last family reunion, there was about 110 of us, spouses and children. So it's been a prolific family. One of the things that I hope my grandparents are proud of is the fact that they raised 9 children. One died rather young. Of the 9, one became a doctor. One worked for the U.S. government and West Coast Customs, so he was a second in charge of West Coast Customs. The engineer, we had an engineer, and one of the sisters was one of General MacArthur's secretaries in the World War II. My mother, who was the eldest, was the first Oriental to graduate from Pasco High. She graduated and she was the salutatorian. So that was an accomplishment, we feel, because neither parent spoke, read, or wrote English. So obviously she had to do it on her own. Again, we have a myriad of professionals in our family, a couple of doctors, lawyer, multiple engineers. Some worked on the F-117 stealth program. My daughter worked on part of the space program for one of the private companies. And we have some music professionals, actually. The family was invited to play for Queen Elizabeth on 4 different occasions. So that was quite an honor for them. So this family has grown and I think prospered and lived their dream of becoming assimilated here in America. But thank you again for the recognition. Oh, thank you.
Hi, Scott Lehrman. Just wanted to tell the council and the city thank you for holding this. It's good. It's good for all people to be seen and heard and recognized. Although our numbers weren't huge here, a lot of the Asian community appreciates what you guys do, what the city of Pasco does. And while I don't have as deep a ties here in Pasco as Mr. Sato's family, my mother's Japanese, my father's German, so I'm half Japanese. My last name's Lehrman. A lot of people don't know I'm Japanese, and I think that's like a lot of the community here. You know, people often, judge what your ethnicity is by your last name or how you look, and there's many people that may have Caucasian last names, Hispanic last names that are Asian and other ethnicities. So for them too, it's good just to see that the city cares and to hear. And like Mr. Sato's family, my family, my mother never spoke, and her 5 siblings never spoke Japanese because she was born in 1950, right after the war. My grandfather's farm was about 5 miles from an internment camp in southeast Idaho, Minidoka internment camp, and there was no incentive, and it was almost frowned upon to celebrate your culture and history. To see as a society how far we've come to celebrate different cultures, it's great. And so we try to pick up and teach our kids, Japanese history. We added a couple of exchange students the last couple of weeks through the Pasco school district exchange program, so that was good for my kids to see that. But yeah, just hopefully that never happens again where people can't share their history, and my mother and her siblings don't know how to speak Japanese. My grandparents were born, native language was Japanese, but like I said, they were born, quit speaking Japanese altogether, after the 40s. So just to be seen, be heard, value our Asian Pacific Islander community. It's much appreciated, so thank you.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Do you have some words? Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Kim Lehrman. I want to thank each one of you guys from the bottom of my heart for this opportunity. I know this is the third year we've done it, but it is gaining traction within the community of appreciation for this proclamation that says, hey, the Asian community is here and they are important, they are valued, they are business people, they are achieving citizens, students, residents. We want to see the AAPI community stay. We have such an investment in our students here in Pasco. We raise up our children in the hope that one day they can be able to dream their biggest dreams and go wherever they want to go, including if it is back home. But they can only come back home if we recognize that this is their home, meaning these proclamations, opportunities such as very similar, like we have Cinco de Mayo celebration coming up that we're really excited about and enjoy celebrating. Maybe there's future opportunities there. Maybe a week of celebrating and enjoying different AAPI businesses and restaurants, something to partner with the city for opportunities like that. As we work and do this work to be included and be part of the community and celebrating each other's diversity and experiences, we are planting the trees, and our children and future generations will enjoy the shade. And that is a Chinese proverb. And I thought it was absolutely fitting for tonight. So community, keep putting in the work, and council members, please keep bringing your heart and putting in the work. Thank you.
Thank you, and I think it is very important to highlight the diversity in our community. So by making these acknowledgments, these proclamations, we're just hoping to unite our community. Moving forward, I do have another proclamation. The 54th Annual Professional.
Mayor, I'm sorry, this is Councilmember Roach. I just was trying to look for the right opportunity to unmute myself and speak up as well. Is it okay to share now?
Absolutely.
The AAPI proclamation. I just want to say thank you to those that did turn out and in City Hall and City Chambers, for those who might be watching, because I know there was a lot of outreach that was done. Thank you for Angela, City Staff Angela Pichon, who helped me and worked with me on this proclamation this year and last year. It's something that means a lot to me personally, just because I am Asian American and take great pride in that, and really identify with what was said earlier by the guests in the room about, you know, when you have immigrant parents who come from a different country, and as the firstborn generation here in America, slowly that culture and that heritage can sometimes be diluted, and there's not necessarily always as great of a pride or connection. And so to me, what is so special about the city of Pasco and the fact that we recognize things like this through our proclamations is that we celebrate our diversity, and that we right the wrongs of the past, of history, of exclusion, of bigotry, of hate, things that have happened, of discrimination, and now are like walking towards something that is something we can be proud of. And so I appreciate all those that came this evening, what they shared, one of the original families here in Pasco, the first gentleman, what he said, because it gives something for my children as well to anchor their own pride in their heritage and know that in Pasco, they are welcome and included and will be celebrated. So thank you for giving me that moment, and sorry I could not be there with you all. Really wish I could, but my leg is literally elevated above my heart, and this is what feels comfortable. So I will see you guys hopefully in the next couple weeks.
Thank you, Councilwoman Roach. Any comments from council? Okay, thank you. So, again, it's my absolute pleasure to invite forward, and I left my notes in the front. Could you read the names, please?
No. Apparently they cannot. Please.
It's on the agenda as well.
I think I only understand my notes. I would love to invite Marisela Galvez, Deputy Department Assistant 2, Executive Assistant April Colwell, Deputy City Clerk Crystal Shanks, and City Clerk Debbie Barham. These ladies, these select few ladies, help run everything we do as council members. You set our life straight, and you can decipher the notes that I need. So with that, it's my absolute pleasure to read this proclamation to you. 54th Annual Professional Municipal Clerks Week, April 30th to May 6th. Whereas the Office of the Professional Municipal Clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists through the world, and whereas the Office of Professional Municipal Clerk is the oldest among public servants, and whereas the Office of the Professional Municipal Clerk provides the professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and agencies of government at other levels, and whereas professional municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all. Whereas the professional municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and community. Whereas the professional municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the Office of the Professional Municipal Clerk through the participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, provincial, county, and international professional organizations. Whereas it is the most appropriate that the accomplishments of the Office of the Professional Municipal Clerk is recognized. Now, therefore, I, Blanche Barajas, Mayor of City of Pasco, Washington, do recognize the week of April 30th to May 6th as Professional Municipal Clerks Week. Any comments? Please applaud very hard for them.
So just real quick, thank you so very much. This is the first time in my almost 19 years of serving as a city clerk in some form or fashion to actually get a proclamation. So this is really special to me personally, and also it's really exciting to see that there's 3 others in this city that are working or have already received a certified municipal clerk designation. So a year ago, Deputy City Clerk Shanks received hers, and she's now going to start working towards her master's in municipal clerk. And April Colwell is currently working on hers. And then I'd like to introduce our new department assistant too, Madi. She comes with some experience, which is really wonderful for us. She has about 1.5 years experience working as a city clerk and treasurer. So she comes from a small community where she wore many hats, and it's very helpful for us. And so happy that she's here, and as time goes on this next year, we'll start her on that track as well. So we just want to say thank you so much, and we really do take our job seriously, and it is important that we are that neutral party that can help all with what they need to have done. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And we do appreciate you very, very much. So with that, we move on to our agenda. Next item on the agenda is item 6, public comments. The public may address council on any items unless it relates to a scheduled public hearing. This item is provided to allow the opportunity to bring items to the attention of the city council or to express an opinion on an issue. Its purpose is not to provide a venue for debate or the posing of questions with the expectation of an immediate response. Some questions require consideration by council over time and after a deliberative process with input from a number of different sources. Some questions are best directed to staff members who have access to specific information. Citizen comments will normally be limited to 3 minutes each by the mayor. Those with lengthy messages are invited to summarize their comments and or submit written information for consideration by the council outside of formal meetings. We do have our city clerk, Miss Debbie, who will be taking time, so she will give you a warning when you have 15 seconds to your 3-minute mark. With that, are there any comments from anyone in chambers? If so, please raise your hand. Joni, go ahead and step forward. And I think the mic is turned off. You want to turn it on. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Joni Martin, and I live in Pasco. I want to address the proclamation. The diversity of our city, county, state, and country is what has fueled our growth and success for generations. I'm very proud of the Pasco City Council for officially recognizing that and for this proclamation commemorating Asian American and Pacific Islander Month. We're stronger when everyone feels valued.
Any other comments from anyone? There's a hand way at the back.
Hi, Susanna Yalla, 4519 Arabian Lane in Pasco. I have a few comments. The first is I first want to recognize the Pasco PD for my daughter was in a minor accident. She was really shaken up. It was a hit and run. It was very, very minor, but they followed up with her today and they found the guy who did it and they actually investigated it and it made her feel a lot better and a lot safer. So thank you for that. The second issue is not such on a happy note, but so we own Chow Trattoria in downtown Pasco. And one of the issues that we are currently having is we have a lot of people that are going to the restroom in the alley next to us. It's a big challenge. I know that the city has been working, the council's been working on solutions to this problem. I don't think it's voiced enough out in the public as to what those solutions are, because I'm not aware of what they are, just that there are some. But we are now opening up our business down at the Pasco Specialty Kitchen, the Pasco Burger Company. And my concern is there have been several incidences of people defecating on the sidewalk right in front of the food businesses, which is really, really gross. And then in the back area next to the dumpster on the walls of that same building. So it's a pretty big challenge when you're trying to run, you know, a food establishment. So I would just like, personally, just to comment on that and how it would be really good to maybe publicize some of what the solutions are for that problem. And then the third thing is I just really want to say thank you to our building department, our business license department, for being really actually very quick on getting our business permitting done, not only for the Pasco Burger Company, but also for some of the special events permits that we're trying to get so that we can do those alley events and really utilize that space for outdoor dining. And so thank you for that. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments? Go ahead, right here in the front. And then gentleman in the back.
Yep. Scott Lehrman, resident of Pasco for a little over 20 years. I live down by Court Street in 68. And just bringing up a safety concern here, you know, I see in Chambers here, we have pride as one of the safest cities in Washington. I say, you know, it's really, I think things are being done about the intersection there at 68 and Court, and there's stuff in the works. But the most dangerous thing that me or my family does on a daily basis when the weather's nice is go up on the path there at Road 68 near the river. I don't know if you guys know, you know, that section between Wade Park and going west there, where it's very narrow on the dike, is the last, I don't know if it's a mile and a half on the entire 26-mile Sacagawea Heritage Trail that hasn't been completed and widened. You know, that dike is a trapezoid. Over 13 years ago, I think 2010, the city had funding in place to lower the dike by a few feet to widen that so that it would be ADA compliant, and you guys don't have to continue to ask for extensions on not making that AD compliant. There's near misses all the time. I brought this to the planning commission a month or two ago, and our former city planner was sitting there, and he said, yeah, he was my neighbor. He says, yeah, my wife got in an accident, ran off the dike there, and she hasn't been up there in many years because it's so dangerous. Probably 6-7 years ago, some of you are just starting on the council. They met over at Chiawana High School and talked about, well, the reason this didn't happen was because in 2010, you know, the Hurricane Katrina hit and there was a moratorium put on modifying dikes by the Corps of Engineers. That moratorium was lifted, but we lost the funding. We don't have funding, but we want to get this done. So we've been talking about it for almost 15 years. I think there's lots of funding, you know, in grants, different things. Maybe you guys already have the funding in place, but just wanted to bring it up to this iteration of the council to figure out how do we finish the last section of a 26-mile, you know, pride crown jewel of the Tri-Cities and finish it and make it safe and show that we have, you know, pride as one of the safest cities in Washington. So for your consideration, thank you.
Thank you. Gentleman in the back.
Good evening, staff and council. Thomas Granbois, 202 North 8th Avenue. I wasn't planning on saying anything tonight, but I wanted to thank Ms. Lehrman for her comment about, or her proverb about planting roots. As an immigrant, that means a lot to me. It really hit home. And I also wanted to mention our Cinco de Mayo event that's coming up this weekend. A lot of you may not be aware that on Friday night we do a Noche Cultural, which I think dovetails really well into this. Starting from 6 until 8, we are going to see performances from the local hula dancer group, and then we're going to see the ballet folklorico performance, and then it's going to finish off with the Colville tribe dancers. So if you have time and are interested, I'd love to see you there, as well as everybody watching and everybody in Chambers. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sorry, Mr. Grandma, Mr. Grandma, just real quick, where is the Noche Cultural going to be had this time? I know it's been at a various venues.
Sorry about that. Yeah, it's going to be downtown at the Pasco or Peanuts Park in downtown Pasco.
Any other comments?
Kim Lehrman, 6514 West Park Street. The city of Pasco's made a lot of promises and has carried out a lot of promises, such as Peanuts Park, and soon in the fall we'll have the opportunity to be able to look at Mr. Peanuts in a bronze statue, recognizing, I think it was Pasco High School ASB student body that put forward his name many, many years ago to have that park named after him for the citizen he was, and for bringing the community together in a joyous way as he shared peanuts to candy. So there's a good history there of bringing in culture and fulfilling promises that the city of Pasco has done. There's one area that needs to bring attention, and I brought it up for a couple years, and now I have talked with the Yamachi family about their 100-year-old mural that their grandfather had created, and it was a promise the city came and said in, I believe, 2015, that they're gonna preserve the mural and transfer it to the new City of Pasco Police Department. As I read through articles, I approached Dave Zabel and I said, what happened to it? And through some research and working with Rick White too, they found out that unfortunately the mural was in rubbles. So this is my question back, and of course I know an answer will not be coming up tonight, but please consider reaching back out to the Yamachi family, and how can we be able to uphold that promise? How can we be able to make that right? That 100-year-old mural doesn't just represent their family, it represents Pasco's history. And to lose that history would be an absolute shame, especially after the city said, here's our promise to our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Go ahead, sir.
My name is Paul Martin, 809 Road 64, Pasco. This also concerns the levee lowering. A few years ago, I started running on it, and if two people are holding their hands, you can't get by them. And there's nowhere to go if there's an incident. And if you do go over the edge, it's riprap. It's going to cut you up. It's going to be bad. And after my knees gave out, I changed to bike riding. And now I'm going 15 or 20 miles an hour on that little narrow path. And just today I was on, that is levee 12.2 that I'm talking about. I got to 12.1, it's been lowered, and it's twice as wide as 12.2, and you have a buffer of a shoulder. So if there's anything that you need to evade, you can do it. So my concern is the safety of the levee and getting it lowered. Thanks.
Thank you for your comment. Any further comments? No other comments? Thank you. We'll move forward with item 7 on the agenda, reports from committees and officers. Do we have any reports from any of the council members? I will start it off. I'll report that April 30th is Dia del Niño, Kids Day. And throughout the school district, several schools reach out to council members or to city council to participate and instill education, share some knowledge. And so we are invited to read books to kids. And so with that, we were invited to Mark Twain Elementary. So Friday, we did some book reading in both English and Spanish to Mark Twain students. I was approached by some kids there because it seems during the week before they had a class about being part of the community and what it takes to run a city. So they were informed that the mayor was coming to read books. And so I have some questions which I will direct to staff. Some of the questions from, this was an 8-year-old. She was very concerned. Why are there not enough garbage cans at the parks? So I told her I would bring that back to staff. She also made a comment that there's litter in the parks. Well, in my conversation with this 8-year-old and her mother, I was sharing that, it takes community to care for community. And so talked about, if you see something, point it out to your parents, pick it up, clean it up if you can. But I also did say that I was going to bring it to staff and we'll look into an opportunity into looking at those parks and making sure that there's adequate, proper disposal. So we'll look into that. So Esmeralda, if you're listening, we're looking into it. We also, several council members participated in the, on Saturday, in the Franklin County Historic Society ribbon cutting for their annex building. There were several community members out there. Thank you, council members, and I'll let you share your piece, your experience on that. We had Mr. Dan Newhouse out there, several commissioners, and we were joined by Councilman Brown, Councilman Melny, myself. Thank you again for making the time to be there. And then on Saturday, again, we were running around this whole weekend. Saturday was the fun day at one of our local churches, and I'll let Councilman Brown share a little bit more about that. But again, in the spirit of community and being part of community, we're out there. Our council members are out there as much as possible, just being with you and sharing your moments. And so I'll turn it over to any other council member who wishes to share.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. In the spirit of community and being part of a community on Saturday, yes, we were very busy. We had, I think, events crossing each other. But we were just speeding down the street, grabbed a taco, and went to the next event. But the cool thing about it was in community. We had the opportunity to connect with our community and conversate with our community at the local church, which is the New Hope Missionary Baptist Church here in Pasco, which is a cornerstone of our community, and proud to say my church home. But we had fun day with the community youth. It was the first one ever, and it was a winner. Our young people came out. The grand prize was a $100 savings bond to start preparing them for college and to invest in their future. And that was an awesome way to kick it off. And they were excited about the savings bond. They wanted to learn about a savings bond. What does it do? How can it help me later down the line? So we were, our goal was to bring up, next council members and mayors and awesome staff that can replace us as we shift out. They were very curious about that. And I want to give a big shout out to the mayor. She showed up and supported. We just kept crossing each other. We grabbed the taco and went to the next event. High five, we kept going. Great community that showed up, not only for this event, but as we were at the museum. What a foundation process that was. Just the information, historical information about Pasco and sharing that and making it available was encouraging to me. I'm an implant, so I'm not from here. So I am excited every time I learn something new every day that blows me away about Pasco. And I am insanely impressed with what Pasco has done and what Pasco is doing. And I'm now excited about what's yet to come because I was highly educated on Saturday. The museum is doing great work. I encourage you to go check it out. It's doing so well that I got lost finding the building that was put up right in front of me. It's my funny for today, but I thank the mayor, like I said, for showing up and the support that we receive from the city as council members, and I'm proud of the support that we give as council members to the city. So that's it for the events, and I'm just excited to see what's yet to come. So thank you.
Councilman Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to also talk about that as council members, we also do a lot of stuff outside of council chambers, and I did attend my COPA meeting, but not so much about that. But I'd like to say that we're working on this grant for the city of Colima, the rehabilitation equipment. Finally got updates. It's moving along. Hopefully we'll get this resolved. But this is kind of the things that's what's really great to be on road or in Rotary, but also on the council, is that you get to work with the government, the city government, and Rotary charity and do things and create opportunities where our city could give to another city. And this particular project was done by all the Tri-Cities and Walla Walla. So I'm be glad when I get this done, but it's on another aspect. It's really great seeing the collaboration between two different cities and what we could do to help another city, and especially when workers get hurt, that you could help them get back to their jobs and support their families. So again, it's kind of a myriad of things, but again, it's with pleasure that I'm on the council and I'm able to do this grant for the great city of Colima, or the state of Colima. So thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Maloney.
Thank you. That was a really exciting weekend, and I think it's a snapshot of how much this council does do for the community and engage in the community. I'll be brief and focused on the Happel Center Advisory Board that Councilmember Campos and I, as well as a large contingent of our staff joined for. The HAPO Center has been going, advisory board has been going through some restructuring since the county has taken a different approach to operations and how they want to do that. So we learned a lot, but this is the first meeting that we'd had, I think, where we had a quorum since before COVID. So it's been years since we've been able to have the opportunity for this advisory board to dig in and understand a little bit what the operations look like. So the good news is that they look like they're in a pretty good operational standpoint. Financially, years past, we've been running a very large deficit for that facility. That deficit is very, very small and maybe disappearing. We'll see over the next couple months of whether the financials that we've seen is a trend. But our agreement, the city's agreement with the county for that facility ends, I believe, next year. So we are in a very near-term path to having to make some decisions as a council and in partnership with the county as to what does that facility and the operation of that facility look like in the future. So more is going to be coming on that as we kind of get our heads around what's the capital outlay for that facility. Obviously, we brought that up in this chamber before. And understanding, what does the liability look like as we try to figure out, well, what's the right blend for the city and the county in ownership and use of that facility. So more to come. Thank you.
Madam Mayor and Council, just an addition, charge it to my head, not my heart. Chief Roski, thank you so much for your support. I called on him at the last minute almost to support the Fun Day for the youth at the New Hope Missionary Baptist Church located here in Pasco. Bang up job. I mean, the ice cream cart was there. I couldn't ask for more. I just wanted the ice cream cart. I got the ice cream cart. It was a win-win. I couldn't shut up enough about that. I was like, if you come, just bring the cart, bring the cart. So he brought not only the cart, he brought fine officers, but he sent 2 vehicles. One was, I just call it the truck, and then a squad car. And when I tell you they did an awesome job, they were almost the main attraction. The kids were not, and this is big, community engagement is huge, and they're not afraid of officers. They were conversating, they were shaking hands, and they made a couple rounds to that cart. So I was pretty proud to have the ice cream cart there. I was rah-rah for the cart, and we did feed the officers, by the way. So we took care of them, but it was fun, and they had a good time with the kids. They played basketball with the kids. So I just, I charge it to my head, not my heart, but I really appreciate you stepping up and sending out that support. So the engagement was right on target. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Any other comments? Councilman Campos.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Make mine very brief. I just am excited to see the progress that the HAPO Advisory Center Committee makes. The members that we have seem very engaged. The information that was shared was very detailed, well organized, and the few meetings I've attended prior have not been as well structured, and I'd hope to see that continue. So I'm just really looking forward to seeing what progress we can make in the short term.
Thank you for that. Any further comments? Seeing none, we'll turn it over to Director Buckley for the General Fund Monthly Report for March 2023.
Thank you, Mayor and Council members. Tonight we have the monthly General Fund Report as of the end of March 2023. Next slide, please. And as the typical body of information in here, in this report, we start with building permit information, and it goes through, I realize it's a little hard to see up there now, we'll try to get a little bigger next time. The different types of permits that are issued, as far as comparing 2022 and 2023, through the end of the first quarter, the numbers are very similar for count of permits issued. In March of 2023, there were 2 large multi-family projects that had permits issued valued at $69 million. So that definitely made our permit value in the commercial category and as a total much higher as compared to last year's March end. And while the residential category is lower in permit value, it does appear March was almost the same as last year, so a good trend moving up from, we had 8, if I remember correctly, in February, and 18 or 17 in March of this year, so an increase. Next slide, please. Oh, I'll let you skip the narrative, I'm sorry. And then sales tax. We do always cover a little bit of information on sales tax. Sales tax is mirroring kind of the trend that we've seen the first 2 months of this year, where it's higher as compared to 2020 and 2021. And I have the percentage. It's 29% higher than 2020 and 27% higher than 2021. But as compared to 2022, which was just a very high sales tax receipt year, as far as we've come in 2023, are lower by 16%. And I did mention last week when we were talking about the 2022 total report, that there is one construction project that was happening in 22 that accounts for all that shortage. So when I take that out of the mix, we actually have higher sales tax revenue for 2023. So that's good news. Next slide, please. And this is really little. I should come in here and look at it on the TV before we meet. But it's just in the packet. Of course, you can see it better that the council members received. But it's by highest to lowest, the top 9 categories of tax, and then every other categories consolidated. But the 2 top tax paying categories are retail sales of vehicles and construction. So that's not unexpected, probably, as that those are high cost purchases, and so they remit a high tax revenue. Next slide, please. And then revenues year to date. Our revenues if you look at the bottom line, are 4.29% of budget, which sounds low, but it's not different than where we were at this point in time last year. That is primarily due to just timing of certain revenues that we receive, including property taxes, which come in 2 times of the year, by and large. There's some that trickle in other times, but the bulk are in May and November of each year. And then we have some debt issuance that's included in that comparison that we have not received proceeds for. We're working on that, but that takes some time. And then just revenues that are related to larger construction projects, or in the form of grants or loans. Those make a difference. They just don't happen throughout the year. But we're, as far as compared to last year, what we've received this year, end of March, is similar, and we're doing well. And then next slide, please. As far as expenses, there we are also under budget, which, as the finance director, I'm always very happy to be under budget in expenses. And the only places that are not under budget, and we've talked about it before, are service arrangements that we've paid for a whole year's worth in advance, all of 2023, and some capital purchases for equipment, where we budgeted to purchase equipment and bought it when we were able to for this 2023 year. And so those things are a little ahead, but they're one-time purchases, and all in all, the expense categories are where we would expect them, well, really under where we'd expect them to be if everything was spent in a 1/12 fashion, which is not always true, but doing well for expenses. And so in closing, we do have capital projects, and the only update really on this page is that I updated the spending thus far on the effort for building the Fire Station 85. I think it's $660,000 is spent year to date, and so they're making good progress on Fire Station 85, and continue working on that, as well as the animal shelter. Next slide, please. And then just as a financial outlook, we just will continue looking at both revenues as they come in and expenses as they're recorded and spent. and paying attention to looking really for outliers, things that were not budgeted or anticipated, so that we can prepare and plan if we need to make any changes and talk to council. But as far as end of March, things are going well, and we continue doing some planning efforts related to the general fund and also rate increases, or I'm sorry, I'm not calling it the right thing, fee studies related to growth and how we will handle those growth impacts as they come, and we want to handle them in a responsible way for the community as a whole. And that's the end of my presentation. If anyone has, and there's a picture of all of you, or some of you. I don't think we got one with everybody, but they were at the Broadmoor groundbreaking ceremony. So thank you all. And if you have any questions, I'd be glad to try to answer them.
Thank you, Director Buckley. Do we have any questions on the report? Thorough report. Thank you for that. So moving on to our next item on the agenda is item 8, hearings and council action on ordinances and resolutions related thereto. We have none, so moving on to number 9.
Madam Mayor, sorry to interrupt you there. I do need to request before the next item, 9A, I do need to request a brief executive session. We do have an executive session further down the agenda on item 13. So if somebody wanted to make a motion to move item 13 up, we could knock them both out in 15 minutes, I think. So we could, I think we could handle that.
Mayor Pro Tem Maloney?
Yeah, I moved that we move item 13A, executive session for the consideration of site selection or acquisition of real estate purchase or lease. If likelihood that disclosure would increase price per RCW 42.30.1101B up to this point in the agenda.
As well as RCW 4230.110.1I for potential litigation.
As well as 4230.110I potential litigation.
There's a motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Campos, and with that, we'll take an executive session for 15. Okay, so, correct, I got ahead of myself. Let's do a roll call vote for that.
Councilmember Roach,
Yes.
Serrano, Campos,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Milne, Maloney,
Yes.
and Barajas.
Yes.
Thank you.
So with that, we will take the executive session for 15 minutes to return at 8:15. It is 8:16, and we are back from executive session. So moving forward with item number 9. Ordinances and resolutions not related to hearings. Item A, resolution number 4347 and ordinance number 4669, change orders number 18 through 21 for the Lewis Street overpass and budget amendment. Director Worley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of council. You're familiar with the Lewis Street Overpass project. We've come to council many times related to it. And tonight we're going to be looking at 4 different items that are rolled up into a change order for the contract with the construction of the project. 4 of the items include the rebar issue that some of the design didn't provide enough clearance from the rebar to the edge of the concrete. And so it was realized that we needed to redo that. And so some of those rebars had been installed. They now have to be removed and new ones ordered. And so that is one of the change orders, or one of the items within the change order. And then the other one is related to the fact that there are foundations of previous buildings that were unknown at the time the project was bid. And so when the contractor started digging for the foundation of the structural earth walls, then they ran into the foundations, and we had to pay a little extra to have the foundations removed in order to support the walls. The other one is a girder sweep, and that is a requirement that was a little bit unknown at the time, but the BNSF Railroad required that the contractor take the girders off of the trucks, place them on the ground, measure the straightness, or what we call sweep, of the girder, and to make sure it was within tolerance. And then they could pick that back up again, put it on the truck, roll it into place, and then pick it and place it onto the abutments. And so that extra picking of the girders, placing it on the ground, measuring it, and putting it back on the truck was not something that was anticipated. It was kind of a new rule that BNSF required because of a problem they've had in the past with bridges being built over railroads. So it's fair to pay the contractor extra for extra work that was not anticipated. And then the last one is a modified approach slab. This is something that is additional reinforced concrete that is underneath the approach slab to help support the end of it so it doesn't settle. And this was something that was missed during the design. And so a lot of times when we look at stuff like this, we evaluate if it had been caught, we would have paid for it anyway. And so they designed it, redesigned it, added it, and we are asking the contractor to build it the way that it's being redesigned right now. And so it's not an uncommon thing when sometimes these things come up. And the one thing that's noted on that one is that there will be a credit to the bid for the approach slab that was in the project where this one replaces it. So there'll be about a $90,000 savings by not building the original approach slab. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for your report. Do we have any questions from council members? Councilman Campos.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Director Worley, something that's been on my mind for a while, and it came to the public voice the same concern. You know, the federal acquisition regulations, I think they've made a movement towards best performing bidders instead of lowest cost. I think I've asked for some history on that before, and I don't expect to have an answer now, but I would like to reaffirm that I'm very interested in knowing what some of the history is, or if we're required to just always do that, what determines that requirement? Is it something that council can legislatively change? I'm just curious to get it. Historically, it seems as if and this is why the federal acquisition regulations is moving towards that direction, is because they found that change orders hit with such a high frequency when you just always go to lowest bidder. So they've opted to try to find a most equitable, I can't remember the term, but it typically is your middle of the row bidder. Just wanted to voice that again. I'm not expecting answers to that, but just I'm very interested.
Thank you for your question and comment. Councilman Campos. Sorry, Councilman Brown.
I miss Brenda, it's okay. I'll be you for tonight. Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. Just to Director Worley, just a couple of things is thrown out. My perspective first. With this comes spending, as we're hearing. I do trust the process. I do believe that we are very conscious of how we spend and navigate the city's money. I believe that we're doing it in a safe way. I believe that we spent enough time talking about this with whomever we should be talking to about that. And that one of my goals is that we remain very transparent about every dollar and then hold adequate accountability for that. Because I believe that as the city is managing this very well, and things do pop up, change orders do happen, but there's accountability for each change order. So I want, for me, as a taxpayer and a constituent here in the city, to know and understand and believe that there is a lot of nurturing to these dollars that are being spent, and that this council is not going to take a hit for that. I'm just being transparent today. I think if we tell the story, it'll be read well, and we'll be successful with what's going on. Change has to happen, and when you're digging and going underground, you have no idea what you're going to find. But again, let's hold transparent accountability and just do good business. And I think we're making great decisions to do so. But I don't know. This is a great council. And I believe we're transparent, and I think we're doing due diligence to the city. But I just put that out there. There's things called lessons learned. Have we captured those inconsistencies / lessons that we can note so that going forward, we try to avoid this? And then part B is looking at our unions that are out there. What does that look like for them locally? How are we, building a force with what we have here? I don't know all the logistics side of that. I'm just tossing it out there. Are these type of things being concerned? Have we put anything in writing, again, to package this and learn from it and say, hey, we are transparent. We're doing good business. We're having great conversations regarding all these change orders, which is a lot of money. And we want to make sure that we're very upfront and we're clear about that. And speaking to our unions and saying, hey, what's up? What's the programs looking like? How can we use you? How do you fit? How do you don't fit? And why you don't fit? And how do you fit in such a way that we are this unified family that takes care of each other in Pasco? So that's my view, my perspective, and questions. I know your ask is very big, and we're talking about it, but I just kind of wanted to share that with you and kind of let that thing marinate for a little bit, and I'm good. Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Madam Mayor. Thank you for the time.
Absolutely. Mayor Pro Tem Maloney.
Thank you. I'll be brief. But I mean, it doesn't go without notice that this is above our 5% contingency number that we had established originally. And given that my day job is literally this, and Director Worley, you and I have talked about this a number of times, 5% obviously was not appropriate for this. And once we get through this, I would like to have a conversation about our larger projects, not our smaller projects that are much more regimented, but this was obviously one much more fraught with difficulty than we expected. How we can use a more formal risk management process in guidance with project management processes and techniques of how we can maybe use some of those to avoid some of these in the future as we're moving through some. We have in our horizon some very large projects that are coming. This is not the last one. In fact, it's not even the biggest one we have in our near-term horizon. So I very much want to talk about how we can make sure that we can maybe do that a little better. So thank you.
Any further comments? I think it sums it up. Director Worley, as reading through this is what change order 18 plus. So the same sentiment as my fellow council members. I feel that we not only need to be transparent to our community, but we need to figure out a way to minimize the added cost. That's all I have to say. Thank you. With no further comments, can I get a motion?
Yes, Mayor Barajas, I move to approve resolution number 4347, authorizing the city manager to execute change orders, change order number, sorry, it says change number 11. Is that a typo on this agenda?
It is.
Change
Should be
orders
18 through
number
21.
18 through 21, with Cascade Bridge LLC for the Lewis Street Overpass Project.
There's a motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Campos. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Thank you, Councilwoman Roach. And it passes unanimously.
I move to adopt ordinance number 4669, amending the 2023-2024 capital projects biennial budget, which is ordinance number 4620 of the City of Pasco, Washington, by providing supplement thereto to provide additional appropriation in the city's overlay fund for the Lewis Street Overpass project.
There's a motion. Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Councilman Milne. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I am registering my vote as a yes too.
And it passes unanimously. Thank you, Councilwoman Roach. And with that, we move on to item B, ordinance number 4667, carryover funds for capital projects from 2021 to 2022 biennium. Director Buckley.
Good evening again, Mayor and council members. On the April 24th meeting, we discussed carryovers for capital projects. And those carryovers are CIP projects that were budgeted in our prior biennium where there's remaining budget because the funds were not entirely spent, and we discussed the request to carry the funds over into the current biennium so that the projects can continue and have authority to spend those funds. I've come tonight with a different option or another option. We have been working on the equipment replacement fund typically does not include items in the carryover as we are more able to purchase vehicles in line with the budget season that they were budgeted, I guess is the best way to say it. This last biennium, however, we have quite a few vehicles that because of supply chain issues, we've not been able to receive yet. We have some that were ordered as long as 20 months ago. And so those vehicles, we have savings set aside as part of the equipment replacement fund. So the funds are there to be spent. We've budgeted for the funds to be spent. We just can't spend them until we receive the vehicles. So in order to be efficient and handle this at one time, we've added an optional motion to include the equipment replacement carryover with the capital improvement plan budget carryover. So before you are two options, A, which is the CIP only, or option B, the CIP and equipment replacement. And so I offer that for your consideration.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do we have any comments? Councilman Campos and then Councilman Serrano.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Director Buckley, do you have any concerns about potentially procuring vehicles and then shortly before they're actually delivered, you're hit with a secondary invoice, i.e. a change order for an inflation cost? This seems to be the problem, an issue we faced on Ben Franklin Transit for some of our dial-a-ride vehicles or any other vehicles that we've tried to procure as well, where you've got these super long lead times and we've established a price and then 18 months go by and the seller says actually, and I think Chief Gear's nodding his head over there because I think we've seen the same thing with ambulances and other vehicles. So is there a contingency plan that you've got in place for any of that?
Our only contingency plan would be to assess each item as we go, and where we can say if we have a contract that we have a contract and we're going to pay what the contract price was, or we may have to, if needed, push some purchases out a little. So we'll just have to take it on a case-by-case basis and look at what budget is available and what the cost difference is. But we've heard of a couple, but I haven't heard of a lot yet.
We just had, just had that with the fire engines that we ordered, and the lease company told the vendor, no, that's not happening. We already have a contract in place. This is a lease price, period. You can't change it now.
Councilman Serrano?
So I guess following that vein, I just want to ensure that, you know, if we were to exercise option B, that I understand the budget's the budget, but do you foresee this as being adequate to cover our needs? Or is this kind of just scratching the surface? This is minimum threshold?
It's what it is, just to go with your words, the budget is the budget. So that's what we have authority to carry over right now with your approval. And so kind of along the same vein as what I just said, as we go forward, we'll kind of have to see what the response we do receive from vendors and plan together with the departments and looking at what savings we have in the equipment replacement fund. And potentially, if we need to, we'll come back to council, but we'll work hard to stay within the budget that we have.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? Okay, does council have a motion?
Yes, Mayor Barajas. This will be for option B, which is the CIP and the equipment replacement fund. To adopt ordinance number 4667, amending the 2023-2024 biennial budget of the city of Pasco, Washington by providing supplement thereto, to provide the additional appropriation from the carryover of the prior year budget to complete capital projects and capital equipment and vehicle purchases, and further authorize publication by summary only.
There's a motion. Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Councilman Serrano. Do we want to do this as a roll call vote? Okay, well, let's, so there's a motion and a second. All those in favor for option B, CIP and equipment replacement, say aye.
Aye.
Hi, I'm sorry about the late, the mute button there's a delay here today, so I'm here and I'm chiming in, but it might be a little bit late.
Okay, thank you, Councilwoman Roach. So that's 7 yes, and it passes unanimously. Thank you for that. Moving on to item number 10, unfinished business, none listed. Item 11, new business, cancellation of May 22, 2023 council workshop. Ms. Pashon, or City Manager Adam.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. So the suggestion is the council go ahead and cancel the meeting on May 22nd. There's going to be some staff that'll be out of town for a recruitment conference for business or economic development purposes. And the items that we were thinking about putting on that agenda, we can easily reschedule to another date. So if you would be so kind as to entertain that concept, we'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions from council? Councilman Campos?
Just very briefly, I just thank you staff for bringing this up. It was brought to my attention. I think we as a council met 51 times last year compared to like Kennewick's 35, and I think Richland was at 45. So a day to do other things would be much appreciated. I myself will be in recovery that day, so I'll be gone anyway, so the night off would be great. So thank you.
Okay. Mayor Protem Maloney.
Yeah, just really briefly, I was going to say, I would just note that within our executive team, I think we've got a number of positions that need to be filled as well. So I think that part of this is a recognition that as our newly appointed city manager is working on his staffing, I think there's a recognition that we're running a lean ship right now, and a lot of hard work in front of us still. So the work doesn't stop, even if we're not meeting for that day. So with that, I move to approve the cancellation of the regularly scheduled council workshop set for May 22nd, 2023.
There's a motion. Seconded by Councilman Campos. All those in favor say aye.
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 And it passes unanimously. Moving on to item 12, miscellaneous discussion. City Manager Adam Lincoln.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, the first item, speaking of Mayor Pro Tem's last comments, is This is Mr. Ratkai's last meeting with us on our leadership team. So just wanted to acknowledge the work that he's put in as a city employee, as a director of his department over the last several years. He's still going to be around working with us with the BFCOG leadership team. But he brought great experience by having been a member of the economic development team in Richland and serving several years in Colorado. And though he's a fan of the wrong hockey team, we'll still miss him as being part of ours. So just wanted to say thank you. Thank you. And with that, I'm also going to ask Jacob Gonzalez to give a wave since he's now our new interim CED director. He's volunteered to step up and put a new face on that team, and I'm very encouraged that he'll do an excellent job. He's been a great employee here for the city, and stepping into this new role I think will be second nature for him, and he'll do an excellent job too. Thanks. A couple other quick items. First, Zach can talk to us a little bit about an award that the city was recently recognized for.
Yeah, so last week, the state chapter of APWA, and preface, I'm not in public works, but I was happy to join the team up there, met at their conference in Tacoma, and Peanuts Park won the 2023 Project of the Year Award for structures of $5 million to $25 million. So the city of Pasco was recognized along with our team, Booth & Sons Construction, which is a Tri-City construction company that had been the general contractor for the site, KPG Somas and McKay Sposito for contracting, design, and construction management services as well. So that's our team there with some of our design team and construction management team, and we were very excited to receive this award on behalf of Peanuts Park. Peanuts Park been making some waves and recognition throughout the state, and it is a finalist for the Project Management International Columbia Basin Chapter Project of the Year Award. I believe they're having an upcoming gala in Richland on May 19th, so keep an eye out on that for PMI as well.
Great, thank you. Next, wanted to acknowledge Councilmember Campos for pointing out that Delta High School was doing a job shadow event. So we had several students who participated in our various departments. It was nice to have students back sort of in our post-COVID era. I think we used to host several students to come through, and we did a lot of tours and things like that. So hopefully we can get back to a little normalcy and doing more of that. So thank you for the finance, city clerk, and IT and police who all participated in that process. Next, wanted to give our police chief a moment to talk a little bit about the ribbon cutting that's coming up on Wednesday.
So you've all received your invites, and that will start at 2 o'clock at the training facility, 1st and Clark Street. We'll have a host of guests down there, one of them being the governor, who will help us with the ribbon cutting. Afterwards, we'll open it up for public tours of the training facility and where the academy will be, with our staff inside to answer questions. So please, if you're available, council, community members that want to come see the regional academy ribbon cutting with the first class starting May 8th, the next Monday. So thank you very much.
And then one other item that I really wanted to mention was, because we can't mention it too many times, is for Cinco de Mayo, Friday, May 5th, starting at 6 p.m. at Peanuts Park. We'll have the evening events, and then on Saturday, May 6th, we'll start with the parade at 11 o'clock, and then the festival itself will be from 12 to 6 p.m., including we'll have several of the city vehicles down there for kids and folks to take a closer look at. And then it looks like one more item that perhaps Mr. Gonzalez can touch on the screen there too.
Good evening, Mayor and members of council. The Community and Economic Development Department is working through our first housing action and implementation plan. Public engagement and input is a significant component of that effort. We are publicizing our community housing survey. You can actually pull out your phones and click the QR code and take the survey. Our consultant is offering one participant a reward of $250 for participating in the survey. The purpose of the survey is to learn more about the housing experiences of residents and community members in Pasco and ensure that the planning strategies and policies that result from the plan reflect the needs and interests of our community members. So would encourage members of the community to take the survey. Thank you.
Thank you.
And sorry, one more item about the award-winning project.
There is one other, and the APWA award for Peanuts Park apparently is getting a front page coverage tomorrow on Seattle's Daily Journal of Commerce. So you want to be on the lookout for that tomorrow, and it'll be on the paper version and the online version as well. We just found out about that late this afternoon.
Go Pasco.
Go Pasco.
Councilman Campos? Yeah, comments?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Your title's a mouthful, Interim Director Gonzalez. So one of my constituents sent me an email about the survey. I sent you an email. There are some technical issues. I tried to replicate it on my mobile device, and there's a question on there that asks you to rank. You say, I was having a hard time with it. I haven't been able to replicate it on desktop, so just wanted to make you aware of it, whether you can recreate it or not. And the other thing was the header. It actually comes from the Pasco Parks and or City of Pasco Parks and Rec. They stole your thunder. So.
Thank you. Any comments from council members? Well, welcome, interim.
See?
Jacob. And Director Rakai, best wishes to you on your new endeavors. But I'm sure we'll bump into each other again.
Yeah, we'll see you around.
Thank you. Any further comments from council members? Hearing none, with executive session out of the list, it is 8:42 and this meeting is officially adjourned. Have a good evening, everyone.